So the ground rules are that this isn't about who has done what to whom. There are no good guys and no bad guys. We are not going to talk about, us versus them. We're not going to talk about government and regulations versus, what we're trying to get done. And as a way to kind of inspire us all, I brought copies of this book I'm going to pass around. You guys can take a look at it. And I've got extra copies that we can use as to draw pictures. We're going to be drawing pictures, which you'll see are in here. And the purpose of using this example is, you see this is that this is a story about, it was actually written by about young women, girls from the ages of 14 to 18 in rural Uganda. And they live in mud huts and have no electricity, no running water, no sanitation, and yet what they have done is they have created better health, wellness, living conditions, and economic prosperity for about 5 million people. So I figure if they can do it, 5 million. If they can do it, we can too. So it's not just about creating a vision, coming up with nice words on a piece of paper. It's about doing it as well. And the technique that these young women use, anybody else? You're going to need one to write on later. The technique that these girls use is this. They go into a village. They usually start with their families. Their parents, their siblings, their grandparents, etc. And eventually they work with their neighbors, and eventually they work with the whole village, and eventually they work at the county and district level. And in each case, they ask the people in the group they're working with to come up with a vision of what they want for their lives. How do they want to live? What kind of health do they want? What kind of prosperity do they want? What kind of income do they want? Basically paint the picture. And then they ask them, describe how things are now. What is your current reality? And again, it's not about how did you get here, who did what to whom. It's just dispassionate. It's the facts. What do we have? And what are the resources that, so what don't we have? What are we missing? And what are the resources that we do have? And then you basically notice the difference between the vision that you've got and the reality. And you figure out together, well, what do we need to do to get from here to there? Pretty simple, right? If 12-year-olds can do it, I think we can, right? So that's what I'd like to do tonight is get your help in coming up with, well, what is our vision? And I'm sure we'll also talk about what is our current reality. Again, not how we got here, not who was at fault, but what is it? So to start, what I'd like to do is just go around the room and have everybody introduce themselves. I think many of us know each other, but some of us don't. And as you do, give us your name, the town you live in, and maybe your contribution to the question of if Boothbay or the Boothbay Peninsula were the healthiest place in America, what would be different than it is now? So let's start with you.
Well, put me on the spot.
Yeah.
I'm Nancy Hilton, and I'm from Boothbay. If this was the healthiest place in America, what would be different? think maybe there would be more accessible programs immediately here for people. I've been thinking about it all week, and I think that one of the things that I would really like to see here would be maybe a monthly visit from a cardiologist, and some of these things I'm sure are already here. But, you know, when I think about the orthopedics and the foot and ankle people, and I'd like to see alternative health options maybe here occasionally, not for 7 days a week, but once or twice a month maybe.
That's good.
So I guess that's it.
Okay, you take this one, I'll do the other. All right, let's keep going.
Anne Marie, Boothbay. Gosh, I don't know. If we were so healthy, we wouldn't need anything.
Well, so.
Well, you said we were the healthiest.
Yeah, if we were the healthiest, so what would be different? When somebody
What would be different?
When somebody drives into the town, what would they see that would make them realize, wow, this is a special place?
Well, all right. I won't say what I was going to. Happy people.
Okay. Happy people, yeah. And Valerie, why don't we alternate? I'll take every other, we'll do every other person. Anything else?
Not that I can think of. You pulled this one out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Arthur Reed, Boothbay. Dunno.
Well, you can answer the question a different way instead of answering the question, you know, how is this or what would make this the healthiest place? Give us what you've probably been thinking about, which is what is your vision for something you'd like to have, just as you did? What would make things better for you?
Easier access to medical health, I would assume. Yeah.
Easier access, okay. And what does that mean to you?
You don't have to drive 10 or 20 miles to get somewhere, and it's there, it's here.
So right here.
Mm.
Okay. All right. All right. Next. Rhoda.
I'm Rhoda Wire. I'm from Boothbay. And I may have understood the question slightly differently, but I think that one of the things that would make us more healthy is if there were healthier children, more emphasis on healthy foods and meals for everyone, and access to anything that makes it possible for people to be healthy. One of the great things we have is the why, but that doesn't do it for everybody. I know that one of the things that made my life good here was finding a group to join. That was a knitting group. And if there were other things like that people could meet people easily and find out about what's available.
Great. Okay. That was great. I think people may be having trouble hearing, and we don't have a microphone, working microphone, so I'm going to ask you guys all to yell a little bit if you can.
Can you tell us what we were just saying?
Valerie's got it up here.
So I have healthier children, access to healthy foods, and a strong sense of community, places to meet others.
Yeah, you also talked about access to the why, making,
Access to groups and activities that keep people active and healthy instead of, eating crap and moseying around.
Right. Okay, good. I think we're building a nice mosaic here, and we're just starting, so let's keep going. Donna.
Donna Maury, I'm from Boothbay Harbor, and my friend here probably can't hear too well, so if everybody could speak up, that would help, so she knows what we're talking about. I think one of the things that I would like, and you kind of said it, is more cooperation with the why, when programs are set up for exercise, and Lincoln County Health does that. The Y in Dear Muscata allows people to come and use their Y to walk, and we're told that we have to use the high school. It would be nice if we could use the Y to do our walks without having to become a member.
Okay,
Because not everybody can afford to become a member. So I think more cooperation within the nonprofits and a general place to go, and I think we're creating that, to know, to call somebody if you have a problem and say, well, this is the agency that can help you, or if you
so
call
like
this
a
person.
clearinghouse that would,
Yes, a starting place to try to get the answers.
okay. Good.
Well, this is my friend Dot Watts, and she lives in Boothbay.
Great. And does she, Dot, do you have anything you would like?
Anything that you would like Dot to see happen in the community to make us healthier?
Like what?
And what would you like? I know she'd like Dr. Cook to come back.
Anything else?
Oh, I don't know, you go.
Okay. I'm gonna put down Dr. Cook. Okay.
Alice Brand from Boothbay. I don't know. I'm happy to hear that I was down in Massachusetts, I can tell you that. And I found people to be very friendly, so I don't know.
Well, if anything were possible, what would be available to you here that would help you be healthier and help other people be healthier?
An emergency room, 24/7.
Yes.
See?
We'll come back. Okay. Jane.
Jane Good from Southport. And I just keep thinking of the lack of services we have for around women's issues.
So turn that around. So that's what we don't have. What do you want? What would you
I would
like?
to see a facility where any female from the age of 12 to 90 could walk in with a particular problem, starting with sexual abuse, domestic violence, gynecological, menopause, any female issue, and a problem, and get the help that they need with that.
Great.
And to outreach with, most of these need support. Addiction, women become addicted to alcohol twice as fast as men do. And the family suffers much more because the mother figure is gone. So children's basic needs aren't even being met. They're not being clothed, they're not being fed properly, they're not getting to school. So I think there are issues around women's issues that are really special. And I don't see any of those. I know I'm not supposed to say that, but I don't see any of them being addressed.
Okay. So that's a little bit of current reality and the vision. You've been very clear about what you want. That's great. Right. Good. Mary.
I'd say education on all levels, from parenting to health needs to diet, all of it, and better utilization of Channel 7 if that was possible.
Of what?
Lots of programs, I don't know.
Okay.
I'm sorry, better utilization of what?
Channel 7
Channel 7.
Oh,
for educational programs.
Correct.
So basically, we could all see them all the time, anytime.
People can't get to the class at a given time, they just
That's
That's a
good.
great idea.
That's a great idea. Okay.
Jeannie Hammond, Boothbay. And I guess my biggest thing is I would like to see total inclusion of everyone from prenatal until we're finished on the air. And that means respect for everyone. I certainly have been working with the Y about getting programs going for us, and been very, very pleased with the reception we're getting from the Y, and we are trying to put something together. And I think we have to have much more socialization. So the program kind of, and this has come a lot from Andy, he would like to have, he would let us use the van, only the driver, and we'll pick people up, and they can walk on the indoor track, and then they can have, he will supply coffee, and they can socialize, and then we thought, well, maybe we should take them to Hannaford, or the library, or do a couple chores, and then maybe we can find one of those lunches, free lunches in town. And we were talking about starting with 2 days a week and just a small pilot group. So we're kind of getting names of people who would be interested in such a program.
Great.
So I'm really interested in, because I know fitness is a big part of your health.
Mm-hmm.
And this last few weeks with how I see it is, I don't want to go out walking. I mean, I can go to walk, but I'm fortunate I can get to walk.
Yeah, that's great. It's a great example of not only a vision, but taking action to get there.
Right.
So it's being worked on.
Yeah, that's good. Positive news. Carl?
I'm Carl Hammond. We live in Boothbay. We've been here for 25 plus years. And I like the area. I like all the land trust park and so forth, and like the vine. I unfortunately not able to drive because of my police and whatnot. I to see the way when Jeannie's away a few days a week, be able to get down to the some kind of local transportation. I know there are taxes, but
So you're looking for local transportation that's available for people like you and others that would be free and easy? You know, like I could just call and get it like I could?
yeah.
Okay. All right, good. Next, I think you're next, Margaret.
I'm Margaret Carrot, and I live in Boothbay Harbor. And I'm reminded when we start talking like this, I have a rental cottage, and I get people who come from abroad, and the first thing they say to me when they come is, "Where is the town center?" And that's a good question. You know, I know we represent different towns and Southport, but if there were a place in the harbor, it would be, I would like it if it were in the harbor, where that is a sort of a meeting place. I'm hoping that the new expanded library is going to be something like that. I don't know, I haven't looked at the floor plans to see what's in there, but places where people could come together. If you want, a group wanted to come and just get together on a Monday morning and sit around and talk in front of a fireplace or something. Something that does, it's everything that we have, it seems to me, is off somewhere. You know, and that's part of the problem, is that we don't have a place where we can come and sit and just be with people. Because there are an awful lot of people in this area who are either single or who are caregivers or who are, you know, have a need to be able to step out and go where there are people. And I think it's the same thing with healthcare. I would love to be able to have a place where several doctors might have offices together. And I know we've got some doctors over there in the woods somewhere, but I want it more downtown. Nancy Oliphant is nearby, but that would be the thing. And the other thing that I would like to say, if we're talking about healthcare, is that the best doctor's office I have ever been to was in Virginia. It was an oncology office, as a matter of fact, and they had dogs. You came in and the dogs came and greeted you. And there was something about that. And it happened that that oncologist was the head honcho at the hospital. It was in Williamsburg, Virginia. And he laid the law down. He said, dogs are allowed in this hospital. So you could go and see someone recovering from surgery with their dog in the bed with them. It's kind of neat.
So it was more than a doctor's office if there were people recovering.
Well, that was while he was chief of staff. Then a new guy came in and he didn't like it. But yeah, it was more than the doctor's office. But there was Hogan, who was a big chocolate lab, who knew in a room full of people, if all of us were sitting around waiting to see the doctor and half of us were patients and half of us were caregivers, he knew who the patients were.
Okay, great. Skip.
I'm Skip Humphrey. I live way out on Back River Road in Boothbay. And in the big back-to-back snowstorm that we had, it took me 8 hours. I'm 74 years old. It took me 8 hours to shovel out. And the entire time I was praying that my family wouldn't have another heart attack. If this is going to be a perfect town, we need a 24-hour emergency room. Period.
And how does that relate to the snow shoveling? So you need a 24-hour emergency room
Oh.
to be able to get there.
That just brought it home to me
Yeah.
that if it's taking me this long to get out of here, how could anybody get me clear to, I'm not going to even say that place, or to my preference to get me to Mid-Coast and Brunswick.
Yeah.
I couldn't get out of my driveway. How could they get to my house? When it was here, I was able to get to the emergency ward in 10 minutes on a good day.
Right,
It would have been a struggle on that day, but at least I'd only had to go here.
right. And you could have called 911 and gotten
Yes,
an ambulance.
right.
If it wasn't off the road.
If it wasn't what?
Off the
If
road.
it wasn't off the road.
Right.
If it wasn't so icy that the ambulance couldn't make it, yeah. Okay. Jerry?
So I'm Jerry Homer. I live in Boothbay. I have a long list, but I'll start with. So if we were the healthiest place in the world, everybody who lives here, from newborns to 100 years old, would have a relationship with a good primary care physician and use that primary care physician appropriately. So we could eliminate half of the emergency room visits.
So what would it take to get there in terms of, everybody having, do we need more doctors? Do we need more affordable care? Just unpack that a little bit for us.
We would need more good primary care physicians.
Okay.
Because right now, I don't think all of the physicians that we have are really dedicated to primary care. So we probably don't have enough primary care physicians. And I imagine, I don't know what other barriers there are that too big chunk of our population feels they don't need, or they can't afford, or they just don't want to have a relationship with a doctor. So we need to maybe take care of the insurance problems, if that's the problem, or the free care problem, if that's the problem, or do some patient education that people understand. If they do some really basic things,
Okay,
they would be healthier.
good, okay. Sandra?
Over this holiday season, I find that there's a population that's not addressed. Sandra Rummery from Boothbay anyway. Especially the shut-ins. Now, I got calls from a few ladies who have been shut in, and there's no place for them to access. And I feel that there should be some sort of entity where they can access by phone to tell their needs, and maybe it may be just a question that they have about their health or what's available to them, and have like a coordinator sort of coordinate this entity with telephone numbers and people to access. I mean, there are people to access, but I don't think that information is relayed to a lot of these people.
Right, and are they mostly looking for health information, or is it all kinds of?
It's all kinds.
Okay.
And like there was a lady that needed a shot. She needed a vitamin shot or something. So I went over and gave it to her because I'm licensed to do that. But she didn't know who to call because apparently the person that was supposed to do it said that she couldn't do it, and blah, all that stuff during the bad weather. And I do feel that there should be some sort of an entity where an 800 number where there's somebody in charge to relay this.
Okay.
And if they have some needs, like could somebody come over and read me a story or something? Or I'm out of this and I'm a diabetic and I need this, things like that. And there is some services to do that, but they also have to be paid, and some of these people don't have that kind of money.
Right.
But I did find over this holiday season that there was a need for this.
Yeah. Good. Okay. Connie?
I'm Connie Mayshon, Boothbay Harbor, and I'm a caregiver, and so of an elderly lady that I feel that from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. is a critical time that we really need to have some kind of coverage in this area for those hours.
And what would you like, Connie, in terms of coverage?
Yes, an emergency room.
Okay, but is it primarily an ER, or is it, would it also be useful to have somebody you can call? Well, maybe you have that already, but if you have a problem or an issue.
I feel that we could call someone now, but I mean, as far as getting my patient to a facility that would have emergency care
Okay,
would be very necessary.
all right. So you feel it goes,
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Information on Charleston, South Carolina. One of the important things that I really like here is the district nurse. And I don't think a lot of people know about the district nurse.
She's good.
And I think that's really important having her. She does a great job.
Okay, so that's a current reality piece that's really important for more people to know about.
Yeah, the district nurse.
Is the district nurse, do we have enough
that's something you'd have to check with their board to see, because, you know, maybe they do need more, you know. Especially if there's a lot more people who know that she's around and that they need her. She's really good.
Is the district nurse part of Lincoln County Healthcare, or how does that work?
I don't know.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so.
No, there
I
are
know-
she get-
entities supported by the town.
The towns,
What about
and
towns?
then if you have the money,
Yeah,
you
and they have
pay
to
her
be
like
referred
$10
by-
when she
Yeah,
comes.
$10.
But
be-
otherwise,
If you have the money, if you don't, I'm sure they'll,
And they have to be referred, and I think there are two. There's one regular one and one that relieves.
yeah.
So but you have to be referred by a physician, right? Which back to Jared's point, you have to have a physician in order to get.
Because I did it when I first came here,
Yeah.
district nursing, and you do have a referral, but there is a great need there. You really need more than two, because you need to make a lot of home visits.
Okay. Good.
Because there's a lot of things that they can do, you know, like drawing blood,
Yeah.
giving shots,
Yeah.
right at the home,
Right,
so you don't have
And
to-
help with nutrition, especially in the home,
Yeah.
because I did a lot of that.
right.
Yeah.
Well, I can remember that it used to be that if you came home with a new baby, the
Yeah.
district nurse would
6
visit
weeks follow-up.
and show you, you know, how your nursery should be set up and all that sort of thing in small towns.
The public health nurse used to do
Yeah.
that.
Do we have that now?
Do we have a public health nurse?
So we don't have
It's just a
anybody
district
who's-
district nurse. Yeah. Each town used to support a public health.
Is there a school nurse?
Yes.
That's a different program.
Yeah.
Okay.
Patty, can I interrupt you?
Yeah.
Am I the only person here who does not know that there is such a thing as a district nurse?
No, I didn't know there was one either.
I didn't
oh
know
yeah,
that.
she's great.
Yeah, but that's not the point. The point is, that
Point
comes
is, it
back
should
to what I
be-
was saying before. We
Yeah.
don't know.
Exactly.
Right.
And
That's
I
why
mean,
you
I've lived
need
here
it.
now for 12 years.
Yeah.
And I'm not exactly a recluse.
Right.
And I've never heard this.
Yeah.
And if there were this center that was suggested, I mean, right now, the closest thing, now that Townsend Avenue Coffee Bar doesn't exist, to a center in this town is Mama D's, and that just isn't enough.
Yeah. Right. We need Mama D's plus. Right.
Yeah, in answer to your question about when, we've had a district nurse. I'm also a caregiver way before Lincoln County Health was ever formed.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay, we've gotten partway around. I think you're next, Jen.
I'm Ted Schmidt in Boothbay. I would like to see included, and I suppose if everyone was healthy, was some sort of dental analysis.
Dental analysis. Okay. Say more about that.
Some sort of individual who could come on a part-time basis, perhaps one day a week.
To the
And
home?
people could, well, no, to a local clinic to get an analysis of their dental situation, be it good, bad, indifferent, and be able to say, okay, you need to go to a periodontist or whatever it is that they might find that you need. Because dental is very, very important to much of the health of the body.
So that's interesting. You're not saying the first thing is to have more dentists. You're saying first we need somebody who can tell us what kind
Somebody that you can go in and say,
of specialties.
you know, do I have a problem?
Yeah.
That I don't have to pay $200 to visit him,
Yeah. To find out.
to find out.
Right.
Or
So
to
free.
wait until I have such pain
Yeah.
that I need more than just a dentist.
Okay. Good. This is good. We're getting a nice variety of stuff. Dan.
I'm Dan Jameson. I have lived in Boothbay Harbor forever, now a resident of St. Andrews Village. And a couple of things I would like to see. I would like to see a reliable health system that we could trust. I would also like to see some local government that is supportive of, of people's needs. We have 4 towns basically in this area, 3 primarily, and Edgecombe is kind of in the cusp kind of thing. And the boards of selectmen, they vary. And unfortunately, I have no confidence in the Boothbay Harbor Board of Selectmen. But maybe
So that's the current reality, but the ideal is, as you said.
the ideal is some kind of a government process that pulls the whole community together and works. And
so you said you wanted a reliable health system and a supportive government. So I would just want you to help me put those together. Are you saying that you want a reliable health system that is run by the community?
I don't know. I just know that I've got a couple of examples. About midnight Sunday, my wife was, awakened with a tremendous pain in her left arm, her upper left arm. And she had no feeling in her fingers. And I tried to explore, what the problem was, but she was in so much pain that, there wasn't too much communication there. So I called 911.
Which was the right thing to do.
And they came and, aside from going in the wrong entrance of the village, they found us and they had a portable EKG machine and all this, and they were very competent, and they gave her an EKG and they ruled out heart as a problem. And they offered to, take her by ambulance to the emergency room. While I was waiting for them to come, I got dressed.
Right.
Anyway, she had an appointment with our primary care physician at 9 o'clock Monday morning. So we declined any extra transportation, and she kept that appointment. Now, the problem with that was that when the physician had made the appointment, somehow the communication got screwed up. And when we arrived at the family care center, there was no record of any appointment. And he was out at a dental appointment. So, eventually, he showed up and she got good care eventually.
Yeah.
And the other example is last July, she was suffering with arthritis, and it was diagnosed as rheumatoid arthritis, and I recommended meeting a rheumatologist. Well, at that in July, the only places where there was a rheumatologist was either Maine Med in Portland or Penn Bay in Rockland or Rockport. And the earliest appointment she could get was November 14th. But our doctor prescribed prednisone, and that kind of took care of most of the pain, In the meantime, when she was waiting for this appointment, we found that a rheumatologist had opened up at Midcoast. So she said, I want to go there. Well, we got this appointment, we'll keep it. And we did, and she wasn't all that impressed, but she did. And so then we looked into the Midcoast thing, and we spent much of the morning, late morning, at Midcoast today. Oh, there was another thing, that the one in Rockport called in prescription to Rite Aid and called in for x-ray and lab work at the Family Care Center. And luckily we kept a copy of these orders. Because when we got to the Family Care Center, there was no record of anything.
Right. So the current reality you're painting, which is a good story with lots of context, is all of the broken connections that exist now with our current medical system. And what you're looking for is local, and as somebody else said, local specialists, as well as local primary care physicians. And accessible, meaning I don't have to wait 6 months for an appointment.
Yep.
And then this whole business of the right hand knowing what the left hand is doing.
Yep.
But then the other thing you mentioned that I was poking at was the, government support. So community support, town support, public official support of having that kind of health care. Is what you're saying. Okay. All right.
Okay, my name is Valerie Young and live in Boothbay Harbor. And all of these are really good ideas and touch on a lot. I think maybe it would be nice to see some programs connecting younger people with some of the older people in the community that could share. Maybe the younger people could go and shovel the walkways and provide some of those services. And I think also they would gain a lot from those sort of interactions, learn a lot.
Have you seen other programs, or do you know about the programs where people are doing those kinds of things? I'm sure they exist around.
Lots of schools do the community
Isn't
service.
the program that Chip Teal was talking about, wasn't there an offshoot from that was trying to get volunteers to work with people? And
Yeah,
so that's already in the works, right?
Yeah.
Beginning stages anyway.
We're beginning it.
Right.
Yeah, and you're right that getting the kids involved is something we definitely
The
want
school
to do.
system does have a community service
Yeah,
thing that they
interact.
sign up.
And you need to ask them and say, these are the kinds of chores we would like to have happen. And the students get, I'm not sure what kind of credit it is. It is an academic credit, but it's one of the criteria if you're in the National Honor Society, you have to do community service and that
And it
kind of
looks
thing.
good on a college resume
Right.
that you participated.
And I know our school has one. Portland has a well-developed system where the school children do chores for the elderly.
Okay, so that might be a place to look for some good best practices.
In one of the towns that I lived in Virginia before I came up here, there was a very active senior center. And the seniors would go into the schools and read to the young children as grandparents. And by the same token, the older school children had through the Rotary, I think it was, and several service organizations that had high school chapters, they would come and do snow shoveling and bulb planting in the spring and that sort of thing for senior citizens. So there were two programs that complemented each
What
other.
we needed was them to turn up to help.
Right.
Yeah,
Skip, shovel
but it
hours.
came about from a center. There was a place where people went
Yeah.
and got together.
Yeah.
It was a senior center,
Right.
but every age group was in and out of that place.
So we've heard people talking about a physical center and also a telephone support line as well.
Hi,
Yes.
I'm DJ Johnson from West Boothbay Harbor. One of the things which we did a number of years ago, we used to have specialists that came for a day, a half a day, or something. And which to me would be, I would think, very worthwhile, if the specialists coming back. The only thing is people that live there, if they use it.
That's right. Do you have ideas about which ones we want to meet?
I was thinking about the rheumatologist.
Yeah.
Cardiologist.
Thank you for coming.
And then maybe some kind of program besides that. My other big thing was that kids need to be more, I don't know, health classes or parents too. So when the kids grow up, they need to be helping the parents that are educated enough to be able to teach their children. There's other things besides playing games on
So you're thinking of
to be outside, I'm gonna learn to be outside because it's wildlife.
Right. So you're thinking of education for the parents or for the whole family?
The whole family.
Okay. So the land trust has some things going.
Well, they do, and the gardens in the summer has a lot of summer programs, but that's just for such weeks. I mean, I'd like to see kids outside playing again. I mean, how many kids have you seen out playing, just doing nothing but playing in the snow?
Right. Okay.
Dorothy Farrell in Boothbay Harbor. You know, I think to have like a drop-in clinic, you know, maybe subsidized partly, but where you could go if you just, you know, and not have to pay $144 and wait. I have a primary care physician, I'm very fond of him, and I think he cares about, you know, me and things. But, I mean, you hesitate to call and make a formal appointment if you just, I had a rash this summer. And it got all right. But it's, you know, you need someplace you could just drop in. And I thought this urgent care was going to be something like that. But if it's going to cost $647 to take someone in, I mean.
Right. What do you think is a good, would be a reasonable amount for a drop-in center for some place that, you know, where you could just stop and.
Well, you know, maybe it shouldn't be that expensive. I mean, if you could afford to pay $25 or something, and you could go in and maybe partly be subsidized by the town or an organization, or maybe that St. Andrew's thrift shop, maybe they could help support something like that. My former employer, they provided me with a 24-hour nurse hotline. That, you know, you don't have to, but it's there.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they did it to reduce the healthcare costs. Sure. Because you can call them and get information, and you don't have to go to the emergency room, or maybe you do, and maybe you don't in that.
Right.
But it's, I don't know where people go who don't have money in this town, and maybe they're in, I just don't know.
I'm not sure they go anywhere.
Well, you see, someone that did some work for me once, he wasn't feeling well, and he didn't go, and because he didn't have money.
Yeah.
And then it ended up that he became very, very ill and accessed Maine Med and all these things, and just hundreds and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. And if there had been a clinic or a walk-in place that he could have gone in and gotten help with this bad cold that he had, that wouldn't have turned into all of this big problem. And I think it's just, I think it's just foolish not to have something like that.
I agree. That's great.
You articulated that beautifully. Okay.
Was your nurse's hotline and through your employer, was that here? Was that in Boothbay?
No, I worked for a big company.
Oh.
And so they had that, but they continued with when you retired, it's still available because it was a self-insured. And they send out newsletters all the time, and you're encouraged to call if you have a question, and it's 24 hours, 7 days a week.
Was that out of state or was that in Maine?
No, I don't know where they're located. I work for Procter & Gamble in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
I'm down in Washington, but anyway, it's still available.
And you could probably access it from anywhere, right?
Oh, yeah. It's an
I think there are grants available to write up and get a kind of service like that. I know in one town in Massachusetts that they do have that, and what they did is they wrote up a grant to allow that service. And it was a whole connection where there was a nurse, 3 nurses, 24/7, and they had all the information of the doctors and stuff before them that they could relay to people that were in need.
That's great. Yeah, I was just thinking, you brought up a really interesting point, which is people who have really good wellness programs and other health programs through big employers. One of my visions is, well, why can't we have that without having
That's
to
right. And they do it, I mean, it was a very benevolent company to work for, but it saves them money, and it would save towns money, it would save federal government money.
Right.
If you could access this information.
Right. Yeah, my hunch is if we could put these kinds of things in place that we're talking about, our costs would go down dramatically, and our health outcomes would go up dramatically, and that would be measurable, and so on. Okay, last but not least.
My name is Larry Arnold. I'm neighbor of DJ here. I live in West Harlem Pond.
And you're our hero, because you wrote such great testimony, which I posted on the website today.
Well, I've been trying to come lately to all of you folks at your deliberations. I jumped in here a little bit at the end with some strong feelings. But I guess if I was to answer your question about if we were to be as healthy as we could be, chances are we'd be a lot younger. Just to be a little glib. But my perception, I guess, is that we're such a small community and divvied up into fractions that make it even smaller, that it's tough to come up with a critical mass to justify the bean counters in a way that medicine seems to be more oriented towards payment than towards practice. In that we can't justify what we need, or even a lot of the things that we've talked about. So that leads me to the feeling of a desperate need for some level of economic development. We have, my goodness, the oldest city, or the oldest town, and the oldest county, and the oldest state.
Right.
If you're to say that's an advantage, then that has to be in available time and in experience and education and wisdom. But at the other end of the spectrum, we have a problem in our school with declining enrollment and winnowing away even of economic stability within our younger population. My wife's a school teacher here in the elementary school, and I was shocked in the middle of our comprehensive plan activities with Dorothy here to learn that over 50% of the kids in our school system are unsubsidized lunch and breakfast. Or lunch and then sometimes breakfast too. So if you're to come up with the economic platform that's sufficient to garner the kinds of medical services or any services that we'd like, I think we've got to get a bunch of some thought given to how we're going to stabilize or grow economically, to be able to get the things we want. It's unfortunate that I think that the way that things have been handled the last 100 years, the organization, with people thinking about medicine, were able to adjust to the troughs and save enough in the crest to be able to get through a 100-year history. And I think it's too bad that predicated on externalities like insurance and cost and specialization and expensive equipment, the decisions were made to pull back during a trough and not allowed to be able to bridge the gap to get to the next high spot. All of us are caught here in a trough, and so you're asking what can we do to bridge. I bemoan the fact that maybe the capacity of the current facility is going to be insufficient to benefit from the next crest. But what are the things that we might be able to do in the trough? And there's been some interesting notions. This fellow that spoke on the dentist, the part-time dentist, my old college roommate has retired as a dentist and was a board of examiners and a big deal. But to keep his hands active and involved in his practice and up to date, he goes back and works twice a week. He takes on projects in Haiti and even hires himself out on a cruise boat. He gets a free cruise to practice dentistry. And one area that I don't think was exploited sufficiently here with an older population is to pull in people that might have been retiring physicians, that this would have been an excellent place to come and retire to. And oh, by the way, could we happen to get a day or 2 days a week out of you? And then there wouldn't have been the difficulty or the clamor of physicians in that prime of their career having insufficient patience and time to justify. So I don't think I think that was an area that it wasn't looked at closely enough.
We could now look at that as a strategy.
Absolutely, because I think if we're going to consider our older population here the asset rather than a drag, then we ought to get more of the same. So if you were looking towards the sorts of retirement community services, phased health care, nursing, end-of-life hospice, etc., if we were to be a center for that, we might be able then to actually recruit a larger number of people in that age group that could actually then financially justify the maintenance of the level of care that you want to have.
Well, the other way that elders are now set, this is a point that Chip Teal made, is the, he says often, if you simply harnessed, a day or two a week, or even a couple of hours a week of every elder's time and expertise, you would have more manpower than we have of everybody who's already employed in Lincoln County. Because there are so many elderly retirees. All of them taking jobs from it. Well, but his point is they'll, you can build a support network where people are really helping each other and they're filling these gaps and so on. Just to follow up on what you were saying, Gary, the other thing I've heard from somebody who isn't here tonight but is also has somewhat of a visionary leaning is Les Fossil has talked about doing clinical trials that specialize in the elderly population here. Now you have to be very careful that you're not preying on people or taking advantage of them, et cetera. But it happens that on the foundation board we have a doctor, Judy Stone, who is one of the premier clinical trial people. She runs clinical trials, and she's very, very well known and sought after. So that's kind of an interesting.
One of the nice things that might be tried. It's one thing to be affiliated with the main health group, and at the level that they want to function and their mission versus the idea of, and it sounds implausible, but linkage with a more known and larger group that might have a different mission. I know years and years ago, the Mayo Clinic, for a long time, only in Rochester, made their first foray into Glendale, Arizona, where I had people and relatives. And this 20, 25, 30 years ago, they looked at the older population as a money-making asset and moved into the Valley of the Sun out of Rochester, and it proved an absolute boon to the economic development of that greater area around Litchfield and Goodyear Park in the western areas of Phoenix, where the bringing of that kind of service from such a well-known clinic was a godsend. And I don't know if it's preposterous to think as to a little place like here, but when you talk of clinical trials, when you talk of an aging population, you know there's specialties like gerontology and rheumatologists and all kinds of like sort of professionals. Is there a Cedars-Sinai? Is there a Johns Hopkins? Is there a Cornell Weill? Is there Brigham and Women's Hospital? It could be enticed in this day and age with the linkages on the internet to be partnered with a good one.
We saw
with a big
that
one.
when we went up to, we visited with Mount Desert Island, that they have a partnership with Penn. And the doctors there who want to be specialists in rural medicine come up to Mount Desert in the summertime, where of course they love being. And the nurses from Mount Desert go down to Philadelphia in the wintertime, and they get exposure to the emergency room in a big city. So that kind of alliance. So I'm going to go next to Minnie, and
Patty,
I'd love to hear from
before you do
too.
that,
Yeah.
I'd like to comment.
Yeah.
It was Gary. I know you were being glib with your initial comment about being young. And if you look around here, we don't have any real young people, maybe one. The irony is, if you consider the health status of our younger population, it's not nearly as good as the health status of this population.
That's the reason I brought up the point of the school lunch and subsidized lunches, which you're banking on a repository of energy and health that's not there, even for your future development.
Right. Well, and your comment about economic development certainly, I suspect, is a big part of that. Those people who have moved here or who are here and can afford to stay here and have the means are better off than young families who are underemployed, unemployed, and struggling and can't afford good dietary habits and so on and so on.
Right.
Can I ask a question? Where do young children, where are they taken from? Are there pediatricians?
Yeah, there's Dr. Fader, Steve
Fader.
Fader, and there is a clinic at the school, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. I think Ann Barker goes to the schools on Thursdays.
She does. Yeah. And I've talked to some parents who haven't really complained about the pediatrics, and they think it's pretty good. Okay, I'm Patty Siebold today, and the thing I wanted to build on from what you've all said and what Gary alluded to in his testimony, and we haven't kind of got there yet, is my vision that relates to economic development kind of builds on what Gary was saying. I would like to see us become a pioneer in personalized genomics. We have Bigelow Labs, we have all this technology that is used for analyzing molecular structures and genes and so on. And the biggest thing right now in cancer treatment and in detection of things like Alzheimer's and so on is to look at your DNA and then tailor the treatment to you personally. And I was thinking it would be fantastic if this community of 7,000 or so year-round people, as many people who wanted to opt in, could become a kind of petri dish for personalized medicine, and we would be in the forefront. Now, when I broach that with people, scientists and others, they say, well, you wouldn't be able to get really good researchers because they want to be affiliated with a really big institution and those are all in big cities. But to your point, Terry, why not have a nicer lifestyle and be connected to one or more of those larger institutions and have a playground here? How do you do it? I don't know. We'll figure it out. Ian.
This is a little awkward because I can't point the camera at myself very well. So I guess I'll just stand in the middle here. My name's Ian Weiss. I'm from Boothbay. You may have caught on that I'm younger than anyone else in the room. So I guess my needs are a little different from yours. What I really want, see, about 2 years ago I got in a car crash. You might have heard of me complain about it. And I went to St. Andrews. They checked me out. I was fine. But really, I'm not worried about slipping and falling. Unlike some of you here, I'm not so much worried about getting sick because I'm young, right? I just want to know that if I have some kind of catastrophic accident, like a car crash, or I fall off the back lawn mowing the lawn, yes, it's happened to me before. Yes, I'm lucky. But if something like that happens, I want to know that we'll have an emergency room that can take care of me and that I don't have to be boarded and collared going 20 miles to miles. Because it was pretty uncomfortable just going to St. Andrews.
Okay.
That's, I just want to know if something bad happens to me, I can get good care locally, that I don't have to worry about, going to miles.
Right.
That's
Okay.
pretty much my big thing.
All right.
Do you have health insurance?
I do have health insurance from my parents, but I'm not going to be able to rely on that forever. So.
He also has a personal doctor.
Yeah, so I guess I am cheating there since my mother is a doctor.
Yeah.
But.
Good. Okay.
The rest of us yell doctor and he yells mommy.
She's gotten tired of me asking if there's a doctor in the house.
So we're going to take a break in a few minutes, but I wanted, before we do, I'd like to, I think what you're about to say, Margaret, I would like to just ask you guys to reflect for a minute. What are the things we haven't talked about yet that are really obvious? One of them is substance abuse. You came up a little bit in your conversation, Jamie, but...
Oncology.
Oncology, okay. And go ahead, Margaret.
I was going to kind of, is it Gary? Spin off of something that you were talking about. I tend to sit up late at night and mess around on the computer. And I was reading a blog from a doctor who is on the West Coast who's very much concerned about the high rate of suicides among young doctors in training. It's higher, almost as high as, it's the second highest percentage in the country. Anyway, I was reading this and they were talking about how these kids are in school for so long and they work, 48 hours and sleep for 2 hours and go back on. And we've all heard the stories about how interns have to deal with this. And they come out of medical school and they're usually carrying $150,000 in debt when they come out. And I got looking at that and I thought, and so I just started typing on the blog and I said, I'm 75 years old and I live on the coast of Maine in a charming little town and We need doctors here. And if we were to somehow, as a community, support a new, very good doctor, young doctor, by paying the debt in exchange for a contract that doctor would stay here for 5 years in the community, do you think anybody would respond? They're still writing to me.
Really?
I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. Yes, of course. That's the kind of thing, you know, and it's interesting. The person who's keeping in touch with me is the bloggist, you know, but it was a valid question, and it's kind of like, did you watch Northern Exposure? You know how Joel got stuck up in Alaska with the moose.
Right.
But still, and it's the same thing that they're doing, I think, at Mount Desert, where they get good young doctors, the best of the new crop that come up, and the only obligation that they have is that within the 5 years that they're there under that contract, they've got to be board certified. So you get, because I think it's great that we have the doctors in town that we have, but part of our challenge is to meet the needs of young people. And the way to do that is to get some young doctors coming in. And if we made it attractive enough for them, you know, Lincoln County Healthcare will tell you that young doctors don't want to come in because the schools are so bad. So they send them to Lincoln Academy. We need to analyze the strengths that we have, what we have to offer for the medical people to come in here, and see if we can't breathe some new life into our whole approach to medicine and health.
But you also raised an issue, which is we need to improve our schools as part of that, it sounds like.
You know, that's another issue altogether. I come from a rural community in Virginia where we had a very strong Future Farmers of America, Future Homemakers of America when I was growing up, but they still have that same sort of thing in the schools today. They are training automobile mechanics, they are training boat builders, they are training you know, hairdressers, they're training people. Yes, you don't have to be college-bound people. And it's making a very strong economy in that community. It's amazing. Because they're keeping the old-fashioned way.
Yes, Jane.
I've been thinking about living in a healthy community. Right now, there's just a tremendous amount of fear. And I'm thinking about the ambulance situation. And I thought, what could help? We've argued that if you live at Ocean Point and if you live at the tip of Southport, and I'm thinking about what Dan said, and I'm wondering, we have 3 ambulances. How about putting one on Southport and one in East Boothbay and one in Boothbay?
So in other words, have different ambulance.
Yes, and maybe they can coincide with the fire departments. Maybe they can be kept in a bay in the fire department. And, you know, maybe the EMTs, we just to take the fear out of that, because that's what I hear a lot about. I don't think I'm going to make it in the ambulance. I'm going to die in the ambulance. How can we make that so it's not so fearful? But we do have 3 ambulances. We do have 3 fire departments. I don't know how difficult it would be. I don't know if town government would have to support it, and maybe we work on that, or how we coordinate that. And the other thing I wanted to share is my mom had Alzheimer's for 13 years and was in a nursing home, bless her heart. Retired kindergarten teacher, 35 years. They had a nursery there, and for the employees to bring, so they had top-notch nurses, because their children were in that daycare, and they could eat lunch with them every day. And you bet your fanny, my mother, who taught kindergarten for 35 years, was in that nursery every day, changing diapers and reading stories and playing school, and I think it added 5 years to her life.
Oh, that's really interesting.
So that is a wonderful way to, I think, Val, to, you know, bring the older people and the younger people together. My mother never lost her love for children.
Yeah.
And it was still supplied for her, and that was very valuable for us to know that every day she had a small child.
What other ideas?
Janie and I come from the northern part of Maine, Aroostook County in Canada,
Yeah.
and there is a program that I don't know what to tell you it's called.
It's out of UNE, because when I lived in Washington County, I used to house the doctors that would come up there. They would come, well, they're doctors to be.
Yeah.
But they would come up there, and their education is paid by the communities up there, their
So it's the same thing
tuition.
Margaret was talking about.
Yes,
Okay.
and then they had to give back, and I think it was 5 years.
I don't
But I
remember
used
the
to get
details,
the
but there
interest.
must be somebody at the state level that we can get in touch with and ask, what are they doing up there? Because all these young doctors would come
Right.
to towns like ghost towns,
Yeah.
like
Right.
Van
And
Buren.
Jerry, didn't you?
Oh, Presque Isle's not a ghost town.
No, but Ashland is on the frontier.
Oh, yes, Ashland. Everybody's 92 years old in Ashland.
So in Ashland, it's similar to the story you just said, we did have a National Health Service Corps community health center with a physician's assistant and a National Health Service Corps doctor. The physician's assistant was good. We said, you have to be good. He was very good. The community subsidized that health center by providing housing for the physician's assistant and his wife and small child. And ultimately, they paid for him to go to medical school. He came back, served 5 years, and is now the medical director in Presque Isle.
Wow.
It was a great success story.
Well, I think that's part of, yeah, so that's a really good model to build on, yeah. Great, yes.
I, in the last few months, have heard of a program that someone received a letter or saw a brochure that physicians are needed in the state of Maine, and that their education could be paid for, and I think it had something to do with a 5-year commitment or something. I can look into that and find out where that was and let you know about that.
Well, I think Lincoln Health sent it out. Lincoln County
Did
Health
they?
sent it out, and Ann Barker looked into it. And, yeah, they do have doctors that are on rotation, young residents who are on rotation.
Because they were looking for people to take the exams and do.
Yeah.
And there's also a program
But
that
I think that's different.
That's different.
yeah, I think that's different. If I understand what you're saying, and unfortunately, Lincoln County is not eligible for National Health Service Corps physicians. We are not, at this point, considered to be medically underserved because by the stupid arithmetic, there is a sufficient number of physicians.
Okay.
So at the moment, in the county,
In Lincoln County.
Yeah. Okay.
Not enough beds.
Other ideas? Okay. What I'd like to do is take a break, and then we'll wind down.
But when you come back from a bio break and coffee or snacks, grab a piece of white paper and some drawing materials. And what I'd like you to do in the next 10 minutes is just do a quick drawing or write some words about your vision. And then we'll do a quick kind of, debrief. You don't have to be an artist. It can be, stick figures, it can be clouds, it can be just words, whatever, but I've got paper.
You have
and
two
I've
art
got
teachers here who'd be happy to help you.
Yes, we do. Right. But I think if we've got a lot of good stuff out of our heads, and I just think if we take a break and we do something with the other side of our brains for 10 minutes, and then come back and kind of debrief about that, we can kind of go to the next level before we part. So, let's come back in 10 minutes. Thinking. So what we're going to do is go around the room
A road.
in about 2 minutes,
Very
1.5 minutes.
I'll go tell Bruce and
and ask people to just quickly describe
Change the law.
your picture and what aha or insight occurred to you while you were doing it, because chances are something turned up.
I understand there's some people that are thinking about running Bruce's.
And then, if you're like me and you want to know what's next, after we do the debrief on our pictures and kind of get the, synthesize together what we came up with, the vision that we came up with, I'd like to get some ideas from anybody about next steps. Of all the different things we've talked about, what are the 2 or 3 things that seem most doable? Most interesting? There might be a couple of quick ones, and maybe some big stretches we want to think about. Let's just close by talking about, okay, of everything we've talked about, what might be the 2 or 3 things, or maybe the 1 thing that we want to focus on.
And they see some advantage.
Okay, people drawing. Bring your drawings back. They don't have to be finished. We just want to talk about them. I'll start. I did you can see I'm not a great artist. I'm holding it up for the camera. It was personalized medicine for young kids all the way through elders and a pregnant lady here. And, with the idea that we have our genes sequenced and we all, we can know whatever we need to know about our future health, and we can have our medicine personalized to us and target it. But as I was doing that, I realized, well, we need to be able to attract young doctors and specialists in that field. But the other thing we need is, that would correlate with all of this, is to have really, really strong curriculum in our schools from kindergarten on in life sciences, so we could grow these scientists here. Because, on the one hand, we're assuming that we don't need to have every child go to college. On the other hand, we've got a lot of smart kids that are probably, into drugs or other things just because they're bored. And, we could develop as a center of excellence for life sciences on the Boothbay Peninsula. So that was my aha. Okay, who wants to go next? I'm not gonna torture you by making everybody go. I'm just gonna ask you to volunteer. Okay, Valerie.
I drew, what was coming clearly into my mind as everybody was speaking was this kind of community center that people were talking about, and I think it's a very reachable goal to have a clearinghouse where you could go and have a cup of coffee, where there would be information available to everybody, where somebody would be available by phone, even though phones don't have cords anymore, where there might be actual health care being given there in shape of clinics or walk-ins, where you could be active, and where, as I talked about, people from different generations could interact and help each other.
Cool. There's no dog.
Only because I didn't draw one here. I draw one.
Okay, who wants to go next?
Well, I drew, I called it a clinic, even though that's a name that not a lot of people don't want to identify with. But anyway, it's kind of in the center of things. And here are all the people coming in. There's a dog. It looks like it's dead in the yard. Anyway, but then I drew the clinic, and then all of a sudden I thought, well, I want to add on to it and have it be more than just a primary care doctor or several primary care doctors, but I'd like to have some extra rooms there where we could send an offer out to an oncologist to come in maybe once a week, or Dr. Katz to come in and fix my foot once a week, or something like that, so that we could have specialists coming in, but have a basic walk-in clinic. And of course, the dream, the ideal would be if it would be a free clinic, but maybe that's a stretch.
Great.
Well, to be reasonable, we
have a
Yeah.
Be free in your vision.
All right, somebody else wanted to go. Yeah, Skip. Oh, Ted, sorry.
Well, the thing that occurred to me in listening to everyone, and I drew a patient talking to the doctor, and I said, I'd like to know a place or a person to find out things available in the community. I hear all these different things that are already available, but how do you find out about them?
Right.
You need to
I've been here for
coordinate
20 years and I didn't know half the things that were available.
Okay, great. Who's next?
It's a good idea. Say that.
Okay.
I can't draw, so I drew what was important to me, which was connectivity, which I think is also what you're, and with this kind of, what I was trying to show was that everybody can be connected, even if they're connected through different ways, so that they can all get the same information and have access to the same facilities. And I think that can be done because we're small enough to do it.
I think it's necessary in
It's
a small
absolutely
community.
necessary. And I think whoever mentioned Channel 7 that's brilliant. I can't get it where I live.
Can you get it on the
You
internet?
have a good idea.
Okay.
I haven't been able to so far, but I probably can.
Yeah. They had a glitch this week, but I think it's back.
This lady,
Back up.
ready?
Yes.
I heard the same thing, Ted, as people were talking and saying, I didn't know that was here, or I didn't realize that was available. I think we need a book, that something needs to be put in writing to go out with all the town reports in every village so that every family has it. And it would take a lot of effort to put it together, to get the right information.
Do you think there's enough for a book?
For a pamphlet of some sort, yes, I certainly do. Look at all the things that are available. My looks more like a list than it does an art piece, but it started out with an informative thing in the center, and all these things going on. You know, we do need all of the oncologists, the rheumatologists, the cardiologists, whatever, occasionally here, but people need to know if that's going to happen when they're here, so they don't have an appointment at Mercy, you know?
I think to add that, it has to be updated.
It would have to be updated.
Yeah, because there was something like that, but it just got lost.
Well, it seems to
me
me
wasn't updating.
it would be easy to do online and
Yeah,
then
it would.
print
It
out,
would be.
you know, hard copies every month or whatever, whenever it's
Put
updated.
an information blog in the paper.
Yeah.
That's an
This
idea
is
too.
available at this number, this address.
Exactly, but if something were in writing where everybody had access to it,
Exactly.
Right.
you know,
About the back of the town report.
On the town,
right.
I happen to know the editor of the foundation newsletter personally. And I met with her over the break, and she suggested that maybe we could start putting some of these things in as a feature in the newsletter from time to time.
Right.
So if you don't get the newsletter, give somebody your email address and we'll see that you get it.
Yeah, and then we can start building on it.
Yes.
That's great. So
Yeah.
that's a quick win. We
Right.
start building that directory right away. All right, great, good action item. What else? What other pictures, ideas do people have?
I didn't draw, I just sort of brainstormed and
Well, it's kind of a drawing.
some of the things that I think we could do immediately, and I think people would be very open to it. For example, universal design. So, well, if you go to Hannaford, and we've had a handicap sticker because Carl was unable to get in and out of the car, etc. But where you put the carts are not next to the handicap accessible places. They sort of walk halfway across the parking lot. And I'm sure Hannaford, I mean, people just don't think about small changes that they could make that would make things much easier. I know I have worked with the Y, and they say they're very interested. We've done handicap accessible audits there, and it's a beautiful facility. Even the new part, it doesn't work. There are things that they didn't think about, like they have little tiny things on door handles. Some of the doors go the wrong way. Like if you collapsed inside a toilet, the door shouldn't be coming in. It should be coming, you know. I'm just appalled at a country that is supposedly as modern as we are, and we just don't have it. I know Carl and I went across the country on the train, the California Zephyr this summer, supposedly a very modern train. For years in Europe, you could go between cars, just go like that, and the doors would open. Carl had to really struggle. He couldn't open the doors. Just things like that. We just don't think about it, and it's so easy to do. Doesn't cost more money.
Right.
Just do it right from the beginning.
Okay,
And
who else
I'm
has-
sure Hannaford will do it. I mean, I'll even ask Chuck.
I'll ask him too.
I'm sure he would do it.
Yeah. Good. All right, other pictures, insights, Sandra?
Oh, have a central area where you have your telephone service and coordinated and have all these different services that they could give the information out and, access it by phone. And then they could access by technology or whatever at this central place.
So it sounds like, what I'm extrapolating from what your picture is that in addition to the person on the end of the phone having this directory that we're putting together and knowing who to refer to, what would be really nice is if it could be like a warm transfer. So that person's on the phone, you find out what that person needs, and then you call that number for them, and you can make sure that they've
almost like a conference
been
call.
handed off, right, nicely, the way they do it in good customer service departments. Good. What else? Jerry?
So I know you said you didn't want to talk about how we got here. But I guess I'm feeling a little more optimistic and seeing groups like this tonight and some of the other activity that has gone on in the last year. I believe we got here in part because we fell asleep at the switch.
Yeah.
We trusted that the people who were in charge were going to do right by us, and we weren't paying attention. And, so shame on us. So what
They were
has
out in
happened?
that line.
I'm sorry?
We didn't miss it, they were out in that line.
Well,
yeah, but they also.
But we didn't.
Let's not go there, other than the current reality, et cetera. Yeah, no, I think it's fine to the line you're going on.
So I think what has happened and what needs to happen is we need to keep this up and expand this circle. And so I have, each and every one of us needs to pull together and envision and build a better healthcare system for us that will meet our needs.
Right.
And that healthcare system in turn will give us a healthy community.
Very nice. Okay. That's cool. What else? Who else has?
Okay, I got a picture.
Yes.
I know I am digressing or something. And I said ER, 24/7. It doesn't have to be an ER, but it'd be nice if it had a doctor.
Yeah.
Physician's assistant. People do get sick during the middle of the night.
They do.
Sometimes.
I haven't heard anybody say that we don't want that.
No, I'm just saying. That's what
I'm glad you.
And Arthur drew the road into it. Huh?
It's coming, there's no way to get to it.
No, we have no way to get to it.
Right. Okay, good. So it's gotta be 24-hour, it's gotta be, you said ER or close.
Yeah, or
with the doctor.
even what they have, if it would be open and not cost a fortune.
Yeah.
Well, that does already cost a
Well, I know, that's what I said. If
It's got to be
accessible.
ambulance accessible.
That ambulance is there all the time taking people away.
Yeah,
All the
but
time.
not bringing.
No, I know they don't bring them.
But not bring them.
The problem that we
All
have
the
with the
time.
urgent care center is that the doctors aren't challenged. The emergency room physicians are a specialty, and they're not challenged to the utmost of their ability, because they don't have, accident victims, they don't have the kind of things you'd have in an emergency room. And Dr. Cook has left.
I heard that.
Yeah, but he's still with us. He still lives and works here, and he's very much involved.
Where does he work?
Right now, he's doing stints up in Holton, I think.
Oh, well, that's not right close, is
No,
it?
but,
No, but my point is that emergency room physicians, people trained as emergency room physicians, don't feel challenged and are looking for places elsewhere.
Yeah, that may be. Okay, good points. Yes, Jane?
I'm going for the dream always. You all know me well enough for that now. This is a pair of hands holding a heart, and it says, "Healing hands heal our community." And I think where I'm coming from this is that Margaret and Mary and I went to the hospital, the new hospital in Augusta area, and the gal that was giving us the tour was a classmate of mine, and I said, "What do you think of your CEO here?" And she said, "Oh, he's a fabulous man." I said, "Really? Tell me more." And she said, "Well, the day that we got everybody to come to the hospital, there was an ambulance coming up to the front door every 15 minutes. And they were coming from Waterville, and they were coming from Augusta, and we filled our hospital. And our CEO was there at 6 o'clock in the morning, and he stayed till 6 o'clock at night, and there wasn't a soul that came through that door that he didn't touch on the shoulder or shake their hand and said, 'We're going to take very good care of you.'"
These were patients who were coming in from the other hospitals.
Yeah.
We're going to take very good care of you. So that's my little heart of healing hands. I want whatever is here, that we all can feel again like somebody's taking care of us, and we're starting by creating it tonight. But that felt so good.
Yeah.
And that trickled down to everybody that worked there.
Yeah.
I interviewed everybody I could get in their face, and they all loved their jobs.
Yeah.
Loved their jobs.
Yeah.
So I like it to feel.
But I think you also said something really important that I'd like to stress, which is it's not, you use the words we, we want to be back having a caring organization, and we care for each other. So it's not that we're necessarily going to go hire somebody and anoint them and assume they're going to do it. We're doing it. We're the ones who are going to care for each other and bring people in who can join in that. Yeah.
Where is that money from St. Andrew's Thrift Shop? Could that be channeled to any of these ideas?
Absolutely. Why not? We just need to
Talk to them.
talk to them. Yeah, that's a great idea.
They have a list at the thrift shop showing where all their money went.
And so if we have good...
I can't remember. Or they
So
bought
we have
a new
good-
piece of equipment for the exercise room or therapy.
Stuff like
Physical
that.
therapy. Yeah, physical therapy.
Yeah.
They sent someone to school. It's in a frame.
Would they look favorably on some of these ideas that, that could be a...
Yeah, I think so. In fact, we might want to do a joint meeting with them and, do the same kind of visioning together and see what their picture is.
A lot of them are awfully disappointed in what happened.
Yeah.
Sure are.
Yeah.
Everybody but the board.
So any last people who haven't shared their pictures or their insights? Yes, Skip.
I'm an old ban the bomber. This is ban the money concept of medicine and put the patient here instead of the dollar bill.
Good. I like it. All right.
I think I kind of said that too, except I can't draw. 100% for help, not 100% for, it's supposed to be money.
Yeah.
Commitment from leaders and citizens at 100% to make it happen.
All right.
Okay. So one thing I didn't hear, I just want to make sure we haven't left any big gaps. I didn't hear a lot tonight about mental health. We talked about substance abuse, you've got it on there. Yeah, good.
I have mental health needs too.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody at lunch today here who, you know, has been around a long time, knows a lot of the locals, and she was saying, I said, well, so she was saying there's definitely both a drug abuse problem and a mental health problem at all ages, and she had kids and grandkids that had gone through issues. And I said, well, what's your vision of what we should have? And she said, well, we need a clinic locally that has a psychiatrist and a play, whatever it is, play therapist, and at least one other professional, but a psychiatrist who can prescribe, and you know, some other mental health professional and a play therapist, and then she said, and it should be in the same place that, you know, the doctors and nurses are, so that it's kind of one thing. And then she also talked about the need for substance abuse and detox and rehab. All,
And
you
family
know,
therapy too, because
yes.
that is really
Right.
essential in mental health.
Right.
Is working with families.
Yes. So I just want to make sure that we kind of get that piece in to complete the picture. Are there any other next steps that anybody, we've had a couple of good ideas, and I'm going to write up the notes from this meeting and get them out to everybody. I think, make sure you left your email address, or if not an email address, if I don't already have your address, make sure I get it on that sign-in sheet. Any other last thoughts?
I have something to say, if
Yes.
that's all right.
So for you.
Let me just set this up real quick. Pretty much all I have to say is that I probably, almost certainly have the most recent high school experience in the room, unless some of you are teachers and you didn't tell me. But I don't know if you remember your health class that well. I don't, because it was not, yeah, it was boring. It was not interesting. It was, if I'm honest here, it was a waste of my time, and it was a waste of the teacher's time, and I feel bad for the poor guy having to teach it. But I hear people talking about educating the young about health, and I don't know how to educate the young about health. What I do know is how not to go about it. So I was just thinking that if we really want to educate, people my age, younger, we probably ought to figure out how we do it before we decide to do it. Maybe ask them what they need to know. That's all I have to say.
Maybe they can educate us.
Maybe. I'm sure there's stuff that they're doing that I haven't caught on about yet or read in the newspaper about the latest moral hazard. But that's all.
Well, I want to thank you all. I'm sure that there will be other ideas that come to you in the shower or when you're taking a walk or whatever. I would like to encourage you to email them. I'll be happy to be the central clearinghouse, and we'll get both the minutes from this meeting and any new ideas out using our newsletter to everybody. And I hope that we can do these kinds of meetings on a regular basis, and also do them in various venues, like at the schools, at the Chamber of Commerce of the Rotary, or, find different groups of people that we can hang out with and have these kinds of conversations with. And if you have an idea and you'd like one of us to come and stir the pot, we'd be more than happy to do that. Pam, did you want to say something about the foundation?
Yes, being the treasurer, I want to remind everybody that this is a new year. This is 2014, and memberships are due. Did I say that nicely?
Yes, you did. But you did not say.
How much? As much as you can
We didn't
give.
say that.
Oh.
But as of a couple of weeks ago,
right,
it is now tax deductible for sure.
Right.
Anything you gave last
Yes, anything back to January 23rd? 23rd of last year can be deducted on your taxes this year.
So memberships
Or your
are
2013
contributions.
taxes.
Okay, thank you guys very much for coming and playing. And really appreciate it. Good work.